First now. I want to talk about, you know, we talked about the evolution all the way up until Moon. When you look at a zombie level, what makes a good zombie level? Is there a specific thing that you can say, okay, if we put this in the level, it's going to be a great zombie level? Or tell me about a little bit about the creative process for leveling the zombies.
Oh man! Again, this really goes back to us just playing it, looking at what fans have said they're like looking for, or that they, you know, ideas they've had or we've had, and just playing it. Quite honestly, anything will go in. Really, no ideas ever kind of immediately shut down because we think it might not be fun. Right. We always try to prototype at least a very quick iteration of it and play things to really know if it's going to be fun or not. So that's how we test it.
Anytime you hear someone in their office playing the game and you hear them go, "Holy fuck, that was ridiculous!" Yeah, you're onto something good.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
You know, I got to tell you, because I've been down to the studio quite frequently, and it seems like the zombie side of the building is really where the fun's at. I mean, the other guys are building a great multiplayer experience. They've got a great single player. But you guys have really no expectations. You can kind of take it anywhere, even to the moon. So, I mean, that's got to be kind of fun. Is it hard to start working with your group, or tell me about that?
I would just say that we set our own expectations so high, honestly, that we're always afraid to disappoint ourselves and I mean, again, these guys, right? Like, yeah. We want it to be fun, ultimately. Bottom line, gameplay first. We want this experience to be, you know, just grinding, heads popping, arms flying off, blood everywhere, fun. That's the goal, so.
Yeah, I mean, we have this advantage also of being sort of episodic in nature, so it's been really fun to work on because we can actually go to websites after we have a map out and actually read what people are saying about it and get new ideas for what we want to do the next map.
It's a good website.
There you go.
Right there, there's their website, CallOfDutyZombie.com. I want to talk, you mentioned the community quite a bit, so tell me how you incorporate the community feedback into level design, into the modes, into the weapons, into the characters. How important is the community feedback into that design?
We ignore the community, right?
Yeah, we pretty much don't listen to it at all. We try to get forums shut down so that we can claim all the ideas.
I'm an epic lurker. I'll go on their forums every damn day after we release a map pack, and I'll just read what they're saying. And if they've got good ideas, I'll go, hey, I've got a great idea, guys. I haven't heard this from anywhere else. Check this out.
Are you going to tell them about the bet?
Oh, about the bet. Oh, yeah. So we, you know, we've got we started doing side quests in the map, as you guys know, and we started with Zombie in Ascension, where you have to do all these tasks, and you eventually finish it. You get a, you know, achievement and stuff. And so it started in my office. I had my whiteboard up, and everyone would take a bet on what day they would complete the side quest. And so I think Ascension was 2.5 days, something like that. And it's gone down.
Here?
It took, what, 6 hours? You guys were right there. It took 6 hours to complete this new one? Yeah, ridiculous. But we had a big board this time around, and everyone takes a bet on how long it's going to take the community to finish the side quest in each map.
So that must be, then you got to go back to your whiteboard and come up with ideas that are harder and more esoteric.
Well, and the hard part about it is that now, when we first started, people didn't know about it, so it took them a while. And now we've got these guys who 2 a.m. rolls around, map packs released on Xbox, and they've got a team of 4 that these guys have been practicing, you know, and then they're just playing straight. They'll be tweeting me and they'll go, "Hey, dude, we completed the first part of the thing." I'm like, it's been out for 5 minutes. Yeah. How could you guys possibly have done this?
It's so much fun those days, though, because we're all sitting around a computer refreshing various websites just to check and see, and it's just cool to see how excited the community gets over it. It's been a lot of fun to work on.
Show of hands, how many people learned Morse code from Call of the Dead?
I tell you, it's going to be needed. You're going to need it when we're
in educational game mode. I've proved it.
I agree. I want to talk about the writing and the one-liners and the dialogue. I mean, that's kind of, you're writing dialogue for the undead, first of all, let's be clear. So how do you come up with some of those one-liners that are funny and, frankly, it's sometimes disturbing? Who's writing those lines?
Well, there's a group of us that actually do the core of the writing. First of all, it's actually lots of whiskey and beer, I think, that make them the most funny. But
now, wait a minute, you're expensing that, right? Because that's a valid work expense. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, so what we end up doing is, once we get the map and all the new features and stuff sort of mapped out, we'll decide what categories we want to have dialogue for, and then we'll basically part the script up by character So 4 of us usually do most of the writing, and we'll go lock ourselves away for a weekend and then come back, and we have to actually perform the lines in front of a group, and if 2/3 don't laugh, the line's out. So at first that was pretty terrifying, but you know, over the course of time we've gotten to know the characters a little bit. We sort of know what they're all about and what they might say. In addition to that, we have a hell of a cast for the characters, so you know, we'll roll into the studio, and those guys will just ad-lib up a storm. So you know, things like Nikolai's wives, we never wrote anything about that. That's just Fred Tatasciore sort of ad-libbing on set. And I think it was maybe not till Ascension that we decided we needed to keep track. So, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's the hardest part about writing the dialogue for these guys. I've been doing Nikolai for the past couple maps now. The hardest part about writing it isn't what he's going to sound like, because at this point I know Nikolai so well. I've been, you know, we've been playing with him, and I've been writing him for a couple times now. So it's easy, you know. He gets a new weapon with a bunch of buttons, and he's just like, oh, this is too confusing. I'm drunk, you know. He just says something, you know, stupid like that. The hard part is that we've got these categories that we've had these characters saying since Shino Numa, Zombie Swamp, and Sumph. And hey, yeah, right there.
There it is. Yep.
And we've had categories that have remained consistent since that first map. You know, usually each category has about 5 different line variations. So when it comes time to writing for Moon, I sat down, I'd be, you know, doing lines for Nikolai and be like, this is a great line. Oh no, wait, we already said that one in Swamp, or I said it in Darius. So we've already written these lines 35 times, and the trouble, and the hard part is I've got to write 5 more, just as hopefully funny as these other ones that I've already written 35 times.
Right.
You know, that's where the real challenge comes in. For
so
writing.
it is hard work.
Yeah, but again, you know, like Brian was saying, just you get to the studio with Fred and Nolan and Tom and
Steve,
and these guys know the characters just as well as we do. So they'll be reading a line and they'll go, you know, I think Rick Toffin would say it this way, and we like. Yeah, we totally say it that way. Just go off, just do it. And it's, you know, it's really a collaboration between us and them. It's not us writing lines and saying, you guys have got to say it this way. They are really invested in the characters as well, so.
Well, can you give me a little insight into when does that happen? Is that towards the beginning of the map, the creation process? Is laying down the tracks towards the end, somewhere in the middle?
I mean, usually we don't have a whole lot of time to make these maps, so it's all happening simultaneously. So
sometimes
we used
as little as 3 weeks.
Yeah. So we used to actually record temp dialogue and, you know, test everything, but the truth is we just don't have time to do it. So we'll go away and we'll write lines the second we find out what the map features are. You know, and there's times when map features are cut or they get changed or whatever, and the lines don't work anymore, so we just have to cut line categories. So, you know, it definitely happens at the beginning, and we sort of, I don't know, maybe we probably put the lines in maybe the last week of the project, so we don't even know what it's all going to sound like or anything until, you know, right at the very end.
Right. Yeah, but just to give you guys an idea, I think each map has anywhere from 400 to 500 lines of dialogue per character. So we write that every time.
Character.
And I think Moon had.
No, Moon was over 2,300 with the
amount.
Story, dialogue, and everything. So it's gotten really big. I mean, to put that in perspective, a single player level might have 300-400. So it's gotten to be quite a bit.
But just think about where Zombies has come from. Nocturne Toten, where there was no dialogue, and now here we are, we're writing thousands of lines of dialogue. It's pretty mind-boggling.
Not only thousands of lines of dialogue, but then you got to figure out how it sound. What would a zombie sound like on the moon?
That was fun.
What was your inspiration for that?
Well, the first thing I did, because the thing I was most nervous about was, and I knew that there were going to be people talking about it. It's like, first of all, when you're on the moon, you're outside, there's going to be no sound.
There's no sound, right.
But we can't really do that, because then that'll break the game. So the first thing I did
There's
was
also no zombies.
Yeah, there's also no
as
zombies.
Far as we know.
You know,
as far as we know.
The zombies, you know, make sense, but no. But so the first thing I did, the first sound design task that I did was I made sure that every airless environment had no sound, so we could start playing with it right away. And I was nervous. I did that, and we had environments that had air that were full sound, and I was like, you know, Jimmy's gonna come back to me and he's gonna go, I've been playing and this is terrible. I can't hear anything. Zombies are coming right up me. But instead, he comes in my office one day and goes, dude, I was outside and I turned a corner and there was a fucking zombie right in my face. I didn't see him anywhere. It's just creepy. And apparently, it just worked out really well.
Worked out
and
well.
It was just
True
scary.
story.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Perfect.
Actually, he's
rendition.
right. And honestly, in the Moon, because we have no sound or muffled sound, I think the anxiety of the player, myself included, just goes through the roof. You can't tell where they're coming from anymore. And it does harken back actually to the original days of Zombies, where it's like you'd have these moments where you would turn and he's right here already. Like, you know, it's just scary. It reminds me of those days. It's really nice.
I want to talk about the character creation. Where does the inspiration come for some of the characters? You've watched some of the older zombie-type movies and kind of you look at that. But I mean, where do you think about, okay, this is going to make a great zombie, like when you're out and about?
Characters like the playable characters?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that one's actually pretty easy. The playable characters are who they are because we don't have cutscenes to explain who they are. So we came up with the most basic stereotypes possible. So the second that somebody hears 2 or 3 lines, they're like, okay, I'm the drunk Russian, I get it.
Right.
And then, you know, over time, we've been able to evolve them a little bit and make them, you know, cooler and more funny. But originally, there was just literally no choice. It was like, how do you make a character that somebody's going to get without any introduction whatsoever, you know? And, you know, one of the rules on the story side is we can't touch core gameplay. We will never stop the zombie spawns. We will never do a cutscene. Like, everything we do has to happen within that parameter, you know? So the stereotypes are the only way we could do that.
And about the zombies themselves, I mean, how do you keep iterating them and making them more zombie scary?
Well, I mean, I think our fans could probably tell us better about how the zombies have evolved, changed, and why they are on any given map. But they're actually one part we want to just see cool, awesome, shredded flesh, and then they're really supposed to tell part of the story of the map. They're a key component to explain things, you know, why, where, and so they really kind of follow the map progression as well.
We talked about the characters. I want to talk about the soundtrack. Tell me the background of the soundtrack and what was the inspiration for that?
Well, the soundtrack was actually originally just a guitar riff from Nocturne on Toten, where we wanted to put something cool sounding when you die. And when it shipped, it was actually Brian who suggested that we turn it into a whole song. And
That's my best impression.
I told him I didn't think it was possible, but then he said I had to do it. So that's
the worst thing you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
Challenge accepted.
Right. Yeah, done.
We just wanted to see if we could actually produce something out of it. You know, we had a little bit of time,
So,
and you know, there was no reason to do it other than, hey, let's see if this.
Yeah, why not?
You know,
right?
see if it sounds cool, right?
So I went and expensed the beer and whiskey budget, and then went home, wrote something, and then threw it in,
And zombie it.
and that's how I think that's how it happened.